I'm Fatima, and you're tuned into Climate Action Figures.
Well, hello there, and welcome to this week's edition of Climate Action Figures. My name is John Whidden, and in just a few minutes, you'll get to meet Fatima, a grade 12 student who is making impressions. This week's Quick Fix is brought to you by Linda from Calgary, and yes, you have heard that name before. Linda sent us a bunch of quick fixes, so this will not be the last time you hear from her either. This week, Linda says, instead of filling your kettle in the morning and reboiling the same water over and over throughout the day, measure out just the amount of water you need for your tea and boil that instead. It'll heat much more quickly, and you won't be wasting energy heating water just to have it cool again. So thank you very much, Linda, and please follow her lead and send us your quick fixes, small actions that we can all do to help reduce our footprint. You can do that through social media or climateactionfigures@gmail.com. So, without further ado, we welcome Fatima. Thanks for joining us today, Fatima. What do you think about that quick fix?
I think that's actually pretty impressive. Small actions that make a big impact. It's the same thing as if you take a smaller shower, or like instead of taking an hour long of hot showers, you take a smaller, a 20-minute or 10-minute shower. These small actions, especially the actions that go to that extent, would help understand the impact that we make around the environment and climate.
Right. Very true. Very true. Fatima, we got in touch with each other through one of your teachers, and his name is Johnny Dolku. And I'm just going to read what he said because it's pretty impressive. He says, my grade 12 student, Fatima, is an impressive young lady with a great deal of experience in provincial youth climate leadership. It was due to her efforts that we rejoined Alberta Youth Leaders for Environmental Education, or AYLEE, as well as other provincial youth groups. I'm obviously quite proud of her. High praise from one of your teachers. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that particular teacher, or maybe other teachers that you have that have been great leaders in environmental action in your school district and your school?
I feel like teachers make a great impact on you and shaping on how you think and about different things around that are happening around the world. Especially my teacher. He was my teacher for the last 4 years, starting grade 9. So he's taught me science and physics for the last 4 years. I joined his Green Initiative Club in probably grade 9, by the end of grade 9. And I've always been really interested in initiatives that are surrounded by climate and energy conservation. I think every time I talk to him, he really encourages me to make my project or make an impact that really helps. And it kind of helps me, also makes me feel proud of myself and kind of motivates me to do more. So I think he's the amazing leader that I've had in my whole school year, as far as I felt.
Very cool. And it sounds to me, from what I've heard, that you have other great teachers in your
I
school
have
district too. So
amazing teachers. So far, they've all been amazing leaders, and they all have been impacted me somehow. And they've all supported me into my projects that I've been doing so far. So I think it's an amazing thing to have amazing teachers.
wonderful. Now, he mentioned AYLEE, and I know a little bit about that organization, but would you like to tell us a little bit more about what that involves?
AYLEE is an Alberta youth-led environmental education program where you work on different projects to understand how you would be able to make an impact. They motivate you to do different projects, such as writing the white paper, talking to the municipality, talking to different governments and different levels of government, and also helps make an impact individually plus as a group. You have a meeting every week, so it kind of helps you motivate and kind of shapes how you work on those projects, and gives you a mentor also to work on those projects. So I've started the throughout Green Initiative. We didn't work on ALE, and we didn't really get in contact with them in the last 4 years. But once we started to do that, I started to know that we can make our school eco school. So something that is known to certify our school as eco school. And something that I really found amazing was through ALE, I could make my school an certifiable eco school that would help not just impact my year, but like the year I'm in, but every year in the future, people would be motivated to work on those projects. And GI, or the Green Initiative, as I mentioned, is not just going to be for 2024. It's going to go on and on. People are going to be motivated to do this without having to expect anything back from it. Because a lot of time people get into clubs because they want something out of it. And I feel like GI is something that motivates you to do something that makes an impact for just not you, but rather the community. So I feel like Alberta Youth Led Environmental Education really helped mentor me on how I do my project.
That sounds wonderful. Now, you mentioned certification. Is that an important part of their
That
program?
is a very important part. I feel like when you become a certifiable eco school, it kind of helps, get all of those projects sorted out in a much more formal way than just having those tiny projects. And, instead of just an activity, it becomes a really formal experience and you learn a lot from it. And those tiny things, the tiny actions that we do help impact our entire school in a very positive way.
So, if a young person is listening to this and they think would be very interested in doing that, what do they do? How do they get in touch with
I
AYLEE?
feel like talk to teachers. Not every club is publicized. People get into GI just because they want to make an impact. Not a club. It's not even like an art club that you would get into. So it's good. It's a good idea to talk to different teachers, and there's always a list of clubs that you have probably in the school. So it's a really good idea to go through those clubs and see which club am I interested in, or how can I make an impact through those. And I feel like talking to teachers, especially, is a great idea, and it feels like um a lot of these projects you could work on, it's gonna help you mentor. Like you're gonna get a mentor, especially on projects where you want to work on, like throughout your life, and you actually want to make an impact, and you want to do it in a formal way. I feel like it's best to join clubs and especially talk to teachers and to learn where the clubs are actually making an impact on how they're making an impact.
Now, you mentioned GI, that's your Green Initiative
Yeah.
Club, and I think we'll get to that in just a minute. But there was one more provincial club that your teacher mentioned. Would you like to tell us a
Well,
little bit about that?
I joined ACGC from the same teacher, Alberta Council for Global Corporation, and it actually makes an even higher impact. I can get in touch into professional mentors that help me, maximize the impact that I make through my project. So, for example, I started the Generosity of Hearts project, which actually helps, worldwide. I can make like a fundraiser worldwide to help people around the world, not just in my community and not just in my country, but around the world. And that helps me maximize my impact and it kind of gave me the motivation to do it. And I also got amazing mentors through that.
Wow, that sounds like another great organization. Would you give the same advice to a young person who
I
wants to
would
get involved? Talk to your teachers and look it up that way?
I feel like it's a great idea because getting to know information from highly professional people that have worked in the same field for many years is a really helpful tool that I feel like is really, really, it should be something that people should empower, like make an impact in their life. To make an impact, that you need to talk to people, you need to like socialize, you need to understand how to make connections. And it feels like that would really help maximize the impact that you would make in your projects.
So it sounds like ACGC is a great way to find experts and mentors for young people to connect with. Is that
Right.
correct?
Because anytime you start a project, you don't really know which paths to take, and getting those professional mentors that have been doing this like in their entire life. So it's really helpful to really understand on how things work, especially making that network connection. You're a high school student, so you can't really make a network connection in the government offices and all of that. It's really helpful when you get a mentor and you can like make those connections and make connections with principals, different schools, and maximize that impact.
Wow. So there clearly are some wonderful adults involved in these organizations that are willing to help out. What, from what you see, what's in it for them? Why do you think they do this?
I feel like the reason they do it, is also the same reason we do stuff like making an impact. And it's a nonprofit organization, so you know that they're doing this just to make an impact to help people that have the same like minded, initiatives, especially coming to environment and the sustainable development goals, especially. And I feel like if you all have the same goal, it's really easy to do stuff without having to think about profit all the time.
Now, Fatima, it sounds like you're involved in so much. I'm curious to know what started you down this road. At what point in your youth did you think, I need to take some action here? And who motivated you? What got you going?
Yeah, I moved to Canada about I think 8 years ago, and I used to live back home in Pakistan. If you know anything about Pakistan, it is highly polluted. Like you'll see high level of pollution, especially in like midsummer where there's fires happening, and you could even sense the pollution even more, and it gets worse because there is no control over pollution there. So like you could throw garbage on the road, no one's gonna care. And when I came to Canada, I saw a huge difference in the basic roadways, the garbage system. Nothing like that ever happens in Pakistan, which is not to demean any country, but it's just that it motivated me to think about what really makes an impact, what really is the useful thing, what really is important in our society, basically. You have to understand the environment to make sure that we have healthy living citizens and a very, very bright future because for the next generations, the amount of resources that we waste, especially like landfills and all of those, they're impacting us really badly. And I know there's a lot of people that live in poor conditions in back home. So it's even worse for them because they are in direct contact with with the pollution, especially noise pollution, air pollution, and all of those because they don't have like stable lifestyle and stable like home. So it's really hard for them to live. Kind of motivated me to like make an impact not just here in Canada, but also back home, so I can maximize the amount of impact I make.
Is there anything specific you're doing to impact things back in Pakistan?
So when I started working with ACGC, I started to make a fundraiser through my project called Generosity of Heart. So I do a lot of fundraisers online, which have different initiatives. Most of them are green initiatives, but some of them are just like food and water related also, and war and destruction related also. But climate change and all of those, I fundraise for that online, and it goes directly to the countries through Islamic Relief Canada. So I make a fundraiser on their website. Any fundraising, any money that I fundraise goes directly back home, and it kind of doubles up because of the currency change. But yeah, it helps a lot back home. So even though I'm staying here and I'm not like traveling a lot, I can still make an impact there.
Now, Fatima, this is a question that I know grade 12 students don't always love to hear, but I'm going to ask you anyways because I know there are a lot of people wondering what is this young woman going to do with the rest of her life? So, do you have a plan for what's coming next?
I don't have like a very specific plan to like really follow, but I do have a dream, and that dream is basically getting into medical science. My life. And, I really love the science part of medical science, and I really love learning about how our body system works. So anything that related to science, especially how the environment and our psychology and brain and all of those human body systems, I love to learn about them. So that's why I hope my future is in medical science, but there is no like direct plan. I'm in grade 12. I've already started applying to like different things in different universities. So my plan right now is to do biomedical engineering. So I would take that route and make an impact throughout the healthcare system also.
Fascinating. Well, we do need to get to your climate action before we wrap up here today. And I think that has something to do with your Green Initiatives
Right.
Club. Is that
I feel
correct?
like everything that I do kind of wraps up to my green initiative club. So we started our water tower plantation system in grade 9 before I even joined GI. So there was already a system going on, but that system was in progress throughout COVID. It got delayed a lot. So we started a new project, the water tower garden. So we started one tower. It's basically a vertical tower that you could plant different types of vegetables, flowers, and all of that. And it worked amazing. We started to see different growth. And we started to see like I think we grow tomatoes, chilies, lettuce. I think we even grow like spinach and all of that. But there's a lot of flowers. I think we grow like, I don't remember the name of the flower right now, but we grew like different plants, and it worked out amazing. It worked better than we would on a normal soil. In Canada, you get like snow like 6 months out of 12. So it's really hard to plant something and actually farm, make it work. But it's an indoor water tower garden. It's literally a vertical tower that has rock wool in it. So rock wool is basically just shredded up rock and just like smushed together that really helps grow plants really in a much better condition. So it doesn't really need fertilizer and all of that. And we were also hoping to connect it with our fish pond system. So any nutrients from the plant would go to the fishes to help feed the fishes, and also it would become a system on its own. And so that's in progress. We've started working on another tower garden. So all those tower gardens are going to be connected to the fish pond and gonna look pretty amazing. So right now we're working on the water towers. So once they're fully working, we're gonna start working on the fish pond system.
Wow, that sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
we grew a lot of like produce also. So I don't know if exactly if how much we did, but it dies out after summer. So you come back and do it. And it takes
Right.
less time also to grow stuff in there than it would on the ground.
Right. Well, it sounds like a fun bunch of people you're hanging around with there, and feel free to give them a shout out right now
I feel
because
like
they'll
we're
probably
all
listen to
working
this.
really hard on that project. We had some amazing things that we grew out I think last week we had chilies grow out and tomatoes. So it was a really fun time when we saw like one tomato grow out and we would have come every week and see those progress. It would be really funny if anyone wanted to eat them. And it would be really heartbreaking if something broke off because if any branches would break off, we would actually like really feel bad.
So, do you do rock, paper, scissors over who's going to get to eat the vegetables or
I think
what?
a lot of people really love those vegetables. Like I'm not a big fan of like tomatoes, so I didn't, but a lot of people did like them and they did eat them. And I love chilies. We had a kid popped it in his mouth. That was
Wow.
that was funny. But yeah, so I think every time we had a really emotional connection with those water tower gardens because from the beginning we started planting it, we cleaned the tower gardens, built it from scratch, and it was a really fun experience.
It's interesting that you say emotional connection, Fatima, because I think that may be the key to getting young people on board in terms of looking after the environment. If you make an emotional connection with the environment, then you're going to want to look after it,
Right.
right?
I feel like once as I said, we saw things growing and we would be so happy that things are actually growing, like growing and putting
Mhm.
more new seeds and growing another tower garden. We started working on the second one now. So I feel like it's really amazing to see that progress and just like connect with it every day. And every time we make a new tower garden, like we decide on like starting from what kind of seeds do we want and what kind of plants do we want to grow, kind of fruits we grow. And then every time we would grow something, it would be just like a group project and we work together. And it's like you're literally raising something like a child or something, and it's really connectable that we all connect with. And especially I feel like because we're all so disconnected throughout the school day, like everyone's so busy. But once you come to GI, it's like you're not talking about school, you're not talking about anything, you're just talking about their project. And it's like a pet that you're raising. You want to like get this, you want to get this. So yeah.
Well, I think you've given us all a little bit of hope through that climate action. And speaking of hope, Fatima, in this world when it's sometimes hard to watch the news, what gives you hope?
I feel like our initiative or like awareness of those things really gives me hope. Like education system really gives me hope because after people have started to learn about it, especially young kids, it's our responsibility to teach the kids about these things. But I feel like education and the awareness that people have nowadays really gives me hope. At least, even though I know there's a lot of things going on around the world, but the fact that people are aware about it and they're trying to do something about it really gives me hope. I know not everyone has the same mindset, but there are a few people that really want to make an impact. And that gives me hope. And that kind of like small, tiny amount of awareness that people have really gives me hope on how this world is going to change in the future, especially the people are going to care
Hmm.
about environment.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Fatima.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you, dear listener. We will be back next week, same time, same place, to hear from another climate action figure. Until then, go figures.
This has been Climate Action Figures. Our show is produced and hosted by John Whidden. Our creative consultant is Kayla McIntosh. Our theme song is Hawaii Vacation by Tavari. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Climate Action Figures. That's all one word. And if you have any other questions or comments that arose from this or any episode, feel free to reach out to us at climateactionfigures@gmail.com. And thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with another Climate Action Figure.